right, everyone. Hello and welcome in. Thank you for joining us on this rainy Monday afternoon out here in Northeast Ohio. It is once again the beginning of a new work week, and the Minnesota Vikings return to work themselves, holding a practice today as they inch closer towards their next preseason game, which is coming up this Saturday. And unfortunately for us and one member of this team, this very well may be the final Monday that they are a member of the Minnesota Vikings, as tomorrow afternoon all NFL rosters must be trimmed down to the 85 player total. We began the preseason with 90 total players, and there is one more guy on the chopping block for the Minnesota Vikings. We just don't know who that is yet. So the Minnesota Vikings are currently down to 86 players on the roster. They have made 4 total cuts over the last 48 hours so far. So we are just waiting on the final name to drop, and then we'll be good to go until the next round of cuts. At the risk of making a video that could very well be irrelevant by the time I hit upload, we're going to talk about who has been cut by the Vikings so far, and then I have a list of players here that I think should be next in line to be on the chopping block. And I want you guys to leave me a comment below. Let me know who you think is not likely to make this roster and who should be the next player cut. I think we're all going to agree who I have as number one on this list. But then there's some other, names that we could discuss and have, arguments about whether or not they bring anything to the table. Did we see enough of them out of the first preseason game to justify their continued existence on this roster? Or is it time to cut bait? That is the discussion that we will have today. Beginning with, so far, who has been cut by the Vikings. Now, there has been 4 players cut. I don't think they're of significance. And some of them, 2 of them are kind of procedural, but this is what we have so far. So the Vikings, as I have said, are currently down to 86. They have to get to 85 by tomorrow afternoon, and as of this recording, we don't know who that is yet. So far, on Sunday, they made 2 cuts to start out. They cut defensive end Jordan Brailford and long snapper Turner Bernard. I think 2 insignificant roster moves, if you will, because we still have a long snapper, and the depth at defensive end is rather big. So Jordan Brailford being able to make this team was already a long shot. So he is done and gone, as is Turner Bernard. Then today, the Minnesota Vikings announced that they made 2 more cuts, with injury designations, I should preface this with. Kicker Riley Patterson and wide receiver Blake Prohl. Now, Riley Patterson, I was unaware that was actually injured significantly enough where this would be able to be a thing that they're able to do. I think it is likely that both Riley Patterson and Blake Prohl are headed to the practice squad. Because it's been a thing that the Vikings have done, is carry a kicker on the practice squad, which I think you should, so you don't have to go out and sign a free agent in case, God forbid, something happens to your starter. And then Blake Prohl, we all saw the injury during practice that he sustained that knocked him out of the preseason game, so he was unable to play on Saturday against the Denver Broncos, which, it is what it is, but at the same time, I think this is a guy that we are all rooting for, so I hope he gets another chance on the practice squad. But those 2 players have been waived with injury designations. That brings us to 86. That brings us to today's topic, which is what players or players should the Vikings cut next? So they have to cut at least 1 more person from this roster by tomorrow afternoon, and then there's 2 more rounds after that where I believe they get down to, 70 and then 53? I forget the exact numbers, but we have to get to 53, so there's going to be some names that we're probably not suspecting that are going to be on the chopping block. So here's 5 players that I picked out that I think should be cut next, whether it be today or in the next round, but this is more significantly looking at the final cut that's going to happen sometime in the next 24 hours. So number 1 on my list, and I think everybody's going to agree with this, is guard Dakota Dozier. I really don't have to say too much about this. We all know. If you actually go and look at the screen capped tweet that I posted on the screen a little bit ago when I was talking about Riley Patterson and Blake Prohl, go to the open your Twitter app and actually go to that specific tweet and then read all the comments. There are so many of the same replies with that hypno symbol where it says you really want to cut Dakota Dozier, and I thought that was so funny and fantastic. So props to the Minnesota Vikings fan base. We can all collectively achieve something when we work together, which is meme the hell out of the Vikings official Twitter account. So that was just wild. But anyway, Dakota Dozier, he needs to be cut. He doesn't have a place on this team. We all sort of didn't understand why he was brought back as a free agent, and then in the Broncos preseason game, it showed that he's just not ready, and he's not ever going to be ready, because this is his I don't even know how many years he's been in the league. Dakota Dozier is not it. Maybe he's a third stringer or an emergency situation guy, but the fact that he's competing for starting reps is just so bothersome to me. At this point, the Vikings have to figure this out, and I think he should be the next guy to be cut. If that's not going to happen, here's a few more names that I've picked. Myron Mitchell, the wide receiver. I really don't know where he fits in with this team. I haven't seen or really heard much of anything about him lately. So given the fact that we have pretty good depth at the wide receiver spot, where they got a lot of guys that are likely going to make this team, like Chad Beebe, KJ Osborne, Amir Smith-Marset, even though he is kind of in the doghouse for his work ethic on special teams, I don't see Myron Mitchell being able to hang around on this roster, given the list of names that are ahead of him. Number 3, Britton Colquitt, the punter. And you may be thinking, whoa, that's kind of extreme. Maybe not, because the Vikings worked out another punter today at practice, a former Aussie player who played for Kentucky. I believe his name's Max Duffy. So it is likely, as we have seen in the past, where special teams players are just 86th without warning. We saw Daniel Carlson that one year get cut, but that was, I believe, during the regular season. I don't remember. But either way, Britton Colquitt is on the chopping block, whether we like it or not. So we could be looking at a new punter for the Minnesota Vikings this year. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could be next. Number 4, I have Dylan Mabin. I think that's kind of dangerous to put him on this list, in hindsight, because what happened with the corners last year. I think we all have a little PTSD from how bad the secondary was exposed. But given the fact that we have Patrick Peterson, Bashaud Breeland, Cam Dantzler, Chris Boyd, I think the way that he played on Sunday sort of solidified him leapfrogging to the top of this list. And then there's also Harrison Hand, which the team, another guy the team really likes. So I think Dylan Mabin, given the fact that he struggled on Saturday, would give me enough reason to 86 him as well. Number 5, we have Nate Stanley, the quarterback, who I think is destined for the practice squad anyway. You might as well rip off the Band-Aid and get it done. I can understand why they're keeping this many quarterbacks so far. It's just because you need this many quarterbacks to make all the throws in practice, because you have so many wide receivers you're working out. You don't want 1, 2, or 3 guys just wasting their arm in practice for the entirety of the preseason. So it makes sense to me, but I think Nate Stanley, sooner rather than later, is going to be cut, and he's destined for practice squad duty. And then finally, I have a wild card name. This is something that I think could realistically happen. Maybe not today, definitely not today, but definitely over the course of the next 2 rounds of cuts, I think we could see this name go. And this guy that I have selected to be my wild card choice for this video is linebacker Troy Dye, because Mike Zimmer has expressed his frustration over and over again the last week or so with the linebacking group and how they are just not stepping up. Maybe he finally just cuts ties with Troy Dye. I've heard some decent things about Connolly so far. Nick Vigil seems to have won the starting job, vacated by Eric Wilson this year. We have Chaz Surratt, the 3rd round pick from North Carolina. I don't think that they're going to cut ties with him this early. So yeah, maybe Troy Dye is the odd man out. It would be weird to see, but it could definitely happen. So those are the names that I think could be cut next. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How bad do you want to see Dakota Dozier? Give me some names other than Dakota Dozier. I think we all get that at this point. It's a meme right now. So give me some names other than Dakota Dozier. Who do you think could be next on the chopping block for the Minnesota Vikings as far as roster cuts go? That's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.